Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about what we're doing to get our roses ready for their first flush of blooms here. Now this is something that was supposed to be done earlier this month, but because the whole family came down with the sickness, we were unable to get out into the garden and take care of some of those things. Now Angie won't be joining us today because she's still a little bit under the weather and she's getting over it little by little, but we're going to go ahead and show you guys exactly what we do to get our roses ready, because roses, especially in containers, take a little bit more maintenance than roses that are actually pot on the ground. So there's a couple of things that we do to get these roses ready. All right, so before we get started, normally I can do this by myself, but Angie usually comes out here and helps me because it makes this process go a little bit faster and it's easier with two people to do it. So today I do have another helper today. Amberlyn is actually gonna help me in the garden today since Angie's not able to help us. And so I'm just gonna have her doing a few things like hand me a container right here, because the first thing we're gonna do with our potted roses, and I'm gonna move this stuff out of the way. First thing we do with our potted roses is we scrape out about 3 inches of the soil from last year. And the reason we do that is because we definitely want to refresh the soil with some new cow manure. We want to use compost or cow manure. We can definitely use some new potting soil as well, but I think cow manure is going to be more beneficial, or compost, because it's going to be able to provide some nutrients to it. So the first thing we do is, again, we scrape all this out. We have some mulch in here and we'll remulch it again later, but we're gonna scrape out about 3 inches of the soil. Now what that's gonna do is, obviously you're never gonna eliminate all the insects that attack roses or any plants in the garden, but what that may do is get rid of some larvae from some of these insects that were laying dormant throughout the fall and winter season that haven't woken up yet. Now, obviously, there are some insects that did wake up already, and that's just something we have to deal with in the garden anyway. But this is going to eliminate the possibility of having some larvae from, especially, you know, the Japanese beetles that definitely attack the roses come June. We'll try to eliminate as many as the larvae in there. All right, so now that we have about 3 inches of soil out of the way, I'm gonna get my helper over here to come take this out of the way because I have some things I need to do here. The next thing we're gonna do is, once that soil is taken out of there, it gives us a good spot to go ahead and put some fertilizer. And the fertilizer we're using today is Rose-Tone from Espoma. This is a slow release fertilizer that definitely works, and it definitely does a great job with our roses here. So that's something we wanna put down into this layer there, and then we just want to mix that up into the soil. All right, so now that that's mixed up, I'm gonna go ahead and get this bag out of the way here as well. And the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up this bag here of cow manure. Now this is a compost blend from Espoma as well. I'm gonna use my Corona scooper here. And all I'm gonna do is just refill this container back up to a comfortable level. All right, so normally with potted roses, you want to fill soil up to about 1 inch from the lip of the container here. That way, if you get any over watering, none of that stuff is going to spill out over the container. So you want to leave about 1 inch of a lip there as well. But I also want to leave it probably about 1.5 inches, because the next thing I want to do is I want to add some mulch here as well to retain some of that water, especially when it gets really, really hot out here and it starts to dry out these containers. That mulch is going to help it from drying out completely in between watering. So that's another thing we're gonna do here real quick. All right, and because we're always looking for ways to prevent any type of insect infestation, the type of cedar I'm using is cedar mulch. The reason I'm using cedar mulch is because a lot of insects don't like the smell of cedar, so that's a plus when it comes to using cedar mulch in potted containers, especially roses, to keep all those insects that don't like that from getting into your container. Another thing I do recommend is when you use any kind of mulch in your garden, I recommend using just regular mulch, nothing that's dyed, nothing that can seep into containers, because that's gonna be a long-lasting effect if it's a dyed mulch in your containers, especially because it's just gonna get into that soil that's just gonna sit. Unlike a rose in the ground where you put some mulch down, it's gonna seep all into the ground. Even in the ground, I don't recommend using any dyed mulch. I just use regular colored mulch. To me, it's more aesthetic looking, it's more natural looking, and I absolutely love the way it looks. And I'm not to say that you shouldn't use any dyed mulch. If that's your thing, then it's definitely your thing, but I like using regular colored mulch. I think it just looks more natural in the garden, and it definitely looks great with these roses here in the garden as well. All right, so now because we Took out about 3 inches of soil and put some new soil that was pretty dry and some mulch. We're gonna go ahead and give it about 2 gallons of water. And then we'll check on it in about maybe a day or so and see how it's doing, if it needs more water, because we're gonna be taking out this 3 inches of soil from all our roses. So we just wanna make sure that they don't remain dry and we get them pretty hydrated before we go back on a schedule of watering at least 2 to 3 times a week with these roses. All right, guys, so that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from the way that we actually take care of our container roses, because it's something that we've definitely been doing from year to year, and it definitely helps with these roses because you wanna revitalize those nutrients that are in those containers. When potting soil sits in a container for so long, after watering it so many times, you start to lose those nutrients, and you definitely wanna, again, refresh that container, give it some more nutrients, and help those blooms get bigger and bigger. And speaking of blooms, you can see Gertrude Jekyll here. We've got some buds already all along it right here, so pretty exciting to start seeing that. I know we're at the end of April right now, and May comes right around the corner, literally in 2 days, and it's exciting to be able to get ready to start seeing these buds open, because Gertrude Jekyll is such a lovely rose, and she's not the only one that has buds. All our roses in the garden have plenty of buds. We'll probably come back out and do another video after we refresh all our soil, so you guys can take a look at what's actually going on in the garden here with the roses, because I know a lot of our viewers are very excited about the roses and very excited to see what they're gonna do, because it's something that's just spectacular when they start to bloom. All right, guys, so again, that's gonna do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye.